Hey Oz, I'm an assassin now. Ready? Check this out. Ah, ha, ha! Look at that! Dagger!
So why'd you have to hide it in your wrist?
I mean, you know, it's to conceal it, because it's like, you can't see it. Yeah, but mine, it's in the wrist and it flicks out.
Seriously, what can that do that this can't?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Shadowversity.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and it is high time that we really break down and analyze the Assassin's Creed wrist dagger. See how effective and prominent it really is. And in fact, I'm going to even try it out in an Assassin's contract that I'm going to be receiving anytime soon. And then we'll be able to know how effective this really is.
All right there, Agent Assassin Shad.
It's Shadair.
Shadair?
Shadair.
The Assassin's contract. I'm going to give them to you in the form of these earbuds. When you put these on, you will hear your target, their name, where to find them, what to do with them, what their favourite position is in the bedroom, everything about them. They're a bit high-tech, wouldn't you say, for, like, you know, assassin-y, timey ones? We're in the Animus. This is the Matrix.
Good point. All right, so hang on. These are just they're earbuds. I need, like, the thing to play to listen to the contract.
Oh, no, it's automatic. Once you put them in, you'll be able to hear everything.
Really?
Yeah, and once you take it out, it'll pause.
Oh, hey, that's pretty cool.
So don't take them out.
It's almost like having a dagger on your hand makes this awkward.
Here, let me help you.
I got it. I think. Hey, it's
this
playing
is Commander
automatically.
Sneed. Your job is to assassinate the stills.
The stills? Hang on, who are the stills?
They're called the Wiggles. They'll be the stills once you're done with them.
I get it. So I guess you don't want Jeff to ever wake up. Fruit salad. Stabby. If we use a shiv, it'll be the shivvy stab. Instead of shivvy stab.
Oh, I get it. It's a Wiggles song.
Choke, stabby, big bloodbath? I don't know why they want to assassinate him. It's a bit unfair.
I think it's actually their competition that's wanting to assassinate them. Yeah, bananas in pajamas.
Those bastards. In case you were wondering, this video is actually sponsored by the Urbanista London wireless earbuds. I use headphones, surprisingly enough, and I'm guessing there's a lot of you guys use them too. Wireless headphones are particularly useful, and these Urbanista London ones, genuinely, the best I've tried. The company, Urbanista, who make these earbuds, started in Stockholm, Sweden out of a love for urban style, life, and design. They have an active noise cancellation feature, which cuts out all the noise around you to make the sound that, you know, coming through them really, really crisp and clear. But there's another feature if you actually want to hear people talking to you, and that's the ambient sound mode. And what it does, it enforces and crystallizes voices, people speaking to you, so you're not disconnected from the outside world when you got them in. They have this really great feature, which we've already mentioned, is that when you take one out, it auto-detects and pauses what you're listening to. Now, for myself, I've actually had an issue with headphones when I'm playing a video game and listening to YouTube videos in the background. And when someone speaks to me, I need to pause the YouTube video, which I have to Alt-Tab out of the video game, bring up my YouTube window, find the tab that I was on and pause it, which is just, it becomes really inconvenient. With these, literally, when I've been using them, my wife speaks to me, and all I have to do is, and it paused the video automatically. And so that's actually a genuinely really useful feature that comes with them. So great quality sound. There's this awesome feature, auto detect. These Urbanista London earbuds also come in attractive colors that other brands don't even offer, such as midnight black, rose gold, dark sapphire, and pearl white. And on top of all this, Urbanista offers a 90-day return policy. They have customizable silicone tips, so you're going to find one that's really, really comfortable. They have 5 hours of playtime charge, and then they have wireless charging. So what you can do, you put the earbuds back in their case, and the case itself can recharge the earbuds up to 4 times. And that can actually give you a total playtime of 25 hours before you need to recharge the case itself, and the case can be recharged through USB or wireless charging as well, if you have a compatible device. Another really cool thing, Urbanista London earbuds cost around 50% less than Apple AirPod Pros. Their sleek design, amazing audio, great price point, and the thousands of 5-star reviews make them a top option over other audio brands on the market. So go to urbanista.com/Shadowversity to get 20% off your purchase as well as free shipping. That's a great deal. So again, go to urbanista.com/Shadowversity to get 20% off your purchase as well as free shipping. And genuinely, guys, really, really good. So thank you to Urbanista for sponsoring this video. And I don't think I'm going to really kill the Wiggles. They're actually a good group. My kids love them. And this, I'm not sure how effective this would be. I mean, you could kill people, but is it the best option? Let's actually break that down. Okay, the Assassin's Creed wrist dagger. Now, it is cool. We understand. This is why, Assassin's Creed, the series, use it. It looks cool, like this concept where it's a hidden dagger and suddenly it flicks out and you got it like, yeah, hidden. But all right, let's actually see how practical it would be in real life. Now, I know this changes like in later Assassin's Creed games, but the first ones, there was this idea, this assumption that the wrist dagger required you chopping off a finger, I think it was the ring finger, for the dagger to come out properly. The problem is, you would never need it to, if, a dagger was legitimately fixed onto the bottom of the wrist, when it, just curling your fist like this doesn't put your knuckles in the way of the dagger coming out unless you actually hold your hand down like this, which would be a bit ridiculous. Just holding your hand normally, the dagger will not hit it, and if you're really, concerned, just lift it a tiny bit. And you're fine. Even removing, say, the finger to be able to get the dagger out, there's still the risk that if you try and trigger it and your hand is down like that. Now, of course, the mechanism is made so it won't trigger when your hand is down and you have to do a certain twist or flick to do that. Later in the series, they say, we've got a new design that doesn't require you chopping off your own friggin' finger. That was never needed for the dagger to come out. So, just to address that bit of bullcrap, you were never needing to lose your finger in the first place. But there is a larger elephant in the room, in my opinion, regarding a wrist dagger like this, and that is if they're actually more functional than a regular dagger. Now you might say, it's not about function, Shad, it's about concealability. Concealability, yes, because, a regular dagger was never able to be concealed in the history of people using daggers. Oz, if you could come in for demonstrative purposes. Oz! So stand here. So get your glasses off. Oz, I'm going to give you this safe dagger. It's fine, but it's for safe. And
Safe.
Safe? Good. All right. Where are all the places you could possibly hide this dagger? Not all the places. Oh. The most convenient places. You can behind there. What about in your belt behind your back, maybe? Upper sleeve? Do you reckon you could get an upper sleeve, hidden well enough?
Yes.
All right, let's try and see this.
In fact, I can have it out this way.
Have it out that way? Now, this dagger, if you had a dagger without a crossguard, it would be even easier, but there seems to be a lot of places you could hide it. You could even hide it underneath, if you had a scab. Or what about underneath there, slip it through there. You're not, I'm almost...
Where'd you put it? Where'd you put it?
Where is it? Where did it go? Wait. Oh, okay, can you lift that up? Show it. Oh, look at that. There's a dagger hidden underneath there.
Assassin's gone wild.
Where was that? It's amazing. Thank you for being a demonstrative person there, Oz. And so, if this didn't have a crossguard, right, I could actually slide it all the way up my wrist, like people have done for lots of times. But what if people search you? Could they find the dagger then? This is the thing. I think having a fairly elaborate bracer with some type of mechanism on the underside of the forearm would be a little conspicuous as well, okay? Someone really wanted to see, it's not exactly a normal fashion accessory, like a well-built-up bracer. And so I don't think concealability is the justification for the Assassin's Creed wrist dagger. You can conceal many other weapons. The contraption on the underside of the wrist is fairly out in the open. Now, would they know it's like a hidden dagger contraption? But still, I think it would raise questions. And that would be a bit of a problem. You don't want to draw attention to yourself if you're an assassin, yet everyone seems to be wearing the same kind of outfit and hood. I mean, if you're in that universe and you're automatically seeing someone wear a hood like that, be automatically suspect. Assassins, not exactly inconspicuous in this universe. The biggest drawback for the Assassin's Creed wrist dagger, in my opinion, is actually the functionality, okay? By restricting a dagger onto the underside of the wrist, you're actually locking off a lot of angles and versatility that you would get out of just using a dagger normally. There are legitimate angles that you can't put the blade on now because it's restricted to your wrist. When a dagger is in your hand, you have a lot of motion. Look at all the motions and angles I'm able to put this dagger, okay? I can face it forward, I can face it up, I can face it down, all the sides. Like, for me to redirect this dagger, I actually have to move my arm to do it. Look at this. I'm not moving my arm. This is all wrist action, okay? Wrist isn't going to, I have to move my entire arm, which creates a huge limitation in its versatility. Think about if you wanted to stab downways onto your opponent. It's really hard if they're a bit tall, like, that's about as good as I can get it, right? Let alone an actual downwards stab. I mean, and look, you can even hold it reverse grip, right? And, you know, so in terms of versatility, the wrist dagger is garbage. It's not a good weapon, guys. Now, it still would be able to be used for a measure of effect because you can just go up someone's like, aha, stab. And it's fun to be able to think you can do that. But you can generate just as much force with a regular dagger than you could with a wrist blade, like throwing all that force in. Having a dagger on the wrist makes it much harder to do slashing cuts, like to do, you know, a cut like this. You have to angle the blade very specifically to do that. But, of course, holding it normally, you can angle it wherever you need to do the slashes, okay, and actually use the dagger as a slashing weapon. So, like, it is so much harder to use this as a slashing weapon. It almost takes out its utility as a slashing weapon entirely. To slice someone's throat, it's a bit difficult. Like, all right, let's try this. Oz, I'm going to try and cut your throat. One of the classic assassin-y moves in not necessarily Assassin's Creed, okay, is sneaking up behind someone and slashing their throat, okay? You've seen it in a lot of movies. Let's try and do that with a wrist dagger. Let's see how so I'll need to angle my entire arm up around, so like that.
I don't want to get splintered.
So like that. But that is such an awkward, look at how high I need that raised arm. And if I'm on this side, that's the angle I need to do. Now, let's compare that. So this side, pretty easy. And so if I'm on this side, pretty easy again. There's another thing that I'm just kind of realizing as well. There are angles in which you'd want to change your hand of the knife you're using just to get a bit better. By having a dagger fixed onto one hand, all right, like for instance, it's easier to cut like this side, but this is a lot more difficult and you have to raise your arm much higher, okay? And what if you just want to switch, you know, you can't switch. Like with this one, this is the easiest one to just use the hand that's on the side to do the slash. But, you know, with a regular dagger, can you hold this for a second? I can just switch sides. It's amazing.
They did fix that in the newer Assassin's Creed game where they've got a blade that comes
out and it slides down. Yes, I'm gonna talk about that, Oz.
You can actually take it off too and put it back on.
Oh, you can take it off. Which Assassin's Creed does? You can take it off.
Assassin's Creed 3, all of them after 3, I'm pretty
So the wrist dagger becomes a glorified sheath then.
Yeah, wrist sheath.
It's a very elaborate sheath with only one specific place to put the dagger.
Yep.
It's a bit stupid. So it is interesting, as I was mentioned, that the developers, someone kind of perhaps saw some of the limitations and said, oh, let's make a version that can flick down and you could then kind of use it like that. Gives a bit more versatility. And one you can even detach. I find that very interesting. You're telling me that you could get more versatility out of detaching the blade from the wrist position. So my answer is then, why fix it to the wrist position in the first place? So all it becomes then is a really elaborate sheath in one position with a regular dagger, right? Perhaps you have more than one sheath where you can hide it in multiple places, okay? And I find it really interesting. This almost seems like an acknowledgement in the lore of the game itself that, yeah, having the blade fixed to the wrist permanently like this without any of the other options, is a bit limiting. Because remember, if it wasn't limiting, there would be no need to have a version that can flick down and hold it like that, or detach. It's like they're admitting it, yeah, this is dumb. Perhaps there is one advantage I could give to the wrist dagger, okay? And that is the notion of surprise, okay? I've been ragging on a lot. Perhaps there is some merit here, okay? Where if you're really, really close to someone, and maybe it doesn't, we're gonna play this out. If you're really, really close to someone and you want the action of getting the weapon ready and killing them to be really, really quick. And so with a regular assassin thing, is this close, flick, and it'll, you know, stick out, kill them instantly, and you can flick it back in as a really, really quick motion. You just, there, dead, and you keep walking. Because you've done that in Assassin's Creed, where it's like one of those really, really quick assassinations. You're walking past, and then you just did nothing. That could be probably the advantage. You might even say it's the ultimate advantage. Okay, how quick could you draw a dagger normally and do that and hide the dagger again? Perhaps not as fast, but the question is, would it be fast enough? So it depends on where you have the dagger, I suppose. Where do you think would be the quickest place to have the dagger? Like if you had it up your sleeve, right? You're walking past and you go, dead, back in like that and keep walking. I think, look, that was pretty fast. And if you're an assassin, you can get pretty darn fast with it. So let's see that again. Walking, dead, then back up. I think that's pretty fast, don't you think? There's more motions in it, okay? And the more movement you have, the more noticeable it would be. Where with the previous assassin one, when the wrist, right, is up, flick out, in, and there's no motion. And so I think, yeah, I could give it that. I could give it that functional acknowledgement. But to be used more constantly as a weapon when you're actually fighting people, it's a really lousy weapon being fixed to the thing, and you're better off just using a regular dagger. Now, you might be thinking this justifies the wrist dagger. Even though it has this one redeeming feature, it doesn't redeem it because it still has all the other limitations. The biggest one being the angles of attack that you can, you know, more easily use this against a person. For instance, one of the really prominent kill positions of a person is right down sides the neck, cutting the arteries in the neck, okay? And so a dagger is, you could very easily see the person right down, right in there, and you can just go stab in, and both angles, if you want to reverse, you can go there as well. It is much harder to get on those angles with this wrist, especially if they were as tall as a regular person. Oz, stop texting, man, you're at work. Tell her you're working and I have to talk to you after. All right, so now it is with a person, like, it's almost impossible for me to do a downwards stab, all right? And so when you're using a wrist dagger, you're basically restricted to very specific kind of stabs, maybe behind the ribs, up right there, that would go in the ribs, up, get into the heart. That's a good angle, granted. But what if it's harder to get to that angle, or they had armor on or something, you needed to get in where a vulnerable area was, you know? Suddenly, the limitations on the wrist dagger would become a severe problem. Thanks for letting me kill you. Can you shove it up someone's rear? You have to kneel down. See, with the dagger, you're already there, right there. This one is a lot harder. Shove it where the sun don't shine.
That's called the secret stab.
The secret stab. Another issue with the wrist dagger, okay? And this would be an issue that would just exist in real life. And they don't do it in the game because, you know, in the game they want to show the wrist dagger to be a perfect, great weapon that never accidentally triggers. Though I haven't played every single Assassin's Creed game. Let me know in the comments, is there ever a cutscene or something where the wrist dagger accidentally triggers? You think 1 in 5 assassins would have some dysfunction with their wrist daggers. But this thing, right? If there was a position or angle of how you put your hand that triggers the spring to launch the dagger out, there'd be a lot of instances where you would accidentally, you know, you're resting down and you just put your wrist like that as you're leaning back and it triggers. Or you go to shake someone's hand and it triggers. Like, it would have to be such a specific thing. You'd have to be mindful of it so much. And you might say, assassins are always mindful of that. In reality, this would not be a reliable thing. Now, people have made Assassin's Creed daggers in real life and done different triggering mechanisms. One, there's like a throw-out fling where you actually have to throw your arm out and use momentum to flick it out because it's safer. That makes sense. But they don't have that in Assassin's Creed. It's just a little button thing or whatever you're doing with your wrist, you're doing something that triggers a very high-powered spring. In reality, having a spring of that power to launch the dagger with such force that it always penetrates as deeply as it does, it would be very dangerous and difficult to fit in, and resetting it, like the force you would need to pull it back in to reset the dagger, click, okay, would be really, really high with the amount of force that the wrist dagger is shown to having when it flicks out. So much so that if whatever is catching it misses, it could be a projectile and you could actually shoot it. And look, they actually do have that in Assassin's Creed where you can actually shoot the blade itself, and it should be able to do that with the amount of force that would have to be contained in the spring. But this is the weird thing, okay? This would have to work off spring technology because they're using, and even having springs in the periods in which they had, like, that's actually really advanced technology. Having springs of that strength in the periods where the assassins were, that's actually very anachronistic. But anyway, the dagger resets by itself. How? Because literally, they're walking around, it flicks out, stabs, and flicks back in. It means that would need to be like a spring mechanism to launch it out, and then another spring that was already set, that's a stronger power than the spring that pushed it out, to be able to push it back in. But then you'd still need to reset springs. There would be times where, and these springs would be really strong, where you need to like reset the spring, and reset another one, just to reload the thing. It's a video game, they don't show that, all right, and it's mainly for gameplay, obviously, but we're talking about if this existed in real life. And if it existed in real life, this would be the legitimate real-world problems. One, the spring would have to be really powerful to actually have the force to actually stab people as it sticks out, and then the resetting, when you're like, try to pull it back, would be really, really hard, and you have to reset it manually, and so you couldn't actually just walk past someone, stab, and keep going, okay? Because what would happen is, and this actually, in my opinion, if this was real, would make this, again, legitimately worse than a regular dagger, because when you're walking past someone and you flick it out and stab it, you have to, in reality, it wouldn't retract by itself, okay? So you would need to pull it back out, so you couldn't just keep walking, let it retract normally on itself. No, you would have to pull it out, so you walk past, stab, pull it back out, and then you have the dagger sticking out with blood dripping everywhere, and you'd probably be having to go like, pull, reset, no, I'm fine guys, I'm not doing anything, nothing sus here. Whereas with, say, a regular dagger, and we're pretending this had like, didn't have a crossguard and was hidden fully up the sleeve, okay? Regular dagger, you just pull it out, stab, push it back in, and you can hide the dagger, reset the dagger quicker and easier than the spring-loaded wrist one. These are the legitimate real-world problems you'd run into if you tried to use the Assassin's Creed wrist dagger in real life. This is the point of the video if you're just going to say, my gameplay. That's not the point. Going back on the accidental triggering thing. Now, you know, people saying you wouldn't accidentally, the assassins are trained so much, but the Assassin's Creed people are like parkour expert guys, and so they're resting and pushing on their wrists all the time, okay? And you're telling me, out of all their parkour moves, or they're grabbing, they're manipulating their wrists all around to be able to rest on them and move around, that they would never ever put their wrist in accidentally in the exact position that would trigger the dagger? I think they would, all right? Just in reality, this thing would be accidentally triggering in the way that they show in Assassin's Creed all the time. By accident, unless they made it differently, like people do in the real world, to have a momentum swung. But if it was momentum swung, how could you do the Assassin's Creed, put your wrist near the person and let the trigger mechanism stab them without, so the trigger mechanism almost makes it essential to get that really cool assassin-y move, but then you have the problem of trying to, it won't pull in by itself unless it has a mechanical wind-up retraction device, which technology, no. So they're going to have to either pull it out, pull it back in themselves, which makes it a really dumb assassin weapon in reality. So, as you can tell, I don't actually like the Assassin's Creed wrist dagger. Look, I admit, it looks cool. That was the point. And for a game, perhaps that's all you need. I personally like a bit more realism. And when you break it down and you find all these problems, that whole finger chopping off thing is so dumb. Oz, come here, because you're not wearing a bracer. Can you pull up your wrist? Okay, now hold it out sideways and make a fist. And is there any position where this would be in that would have to chop off a finger to pull out.
Wouldn't you have to take like 2 fingers?
Like, how much lower do you need your hand for that to be able to do it?
It's fine.
Fine. Now make a fist, right? It's like, and you know, just lower it a tad. But this is the thing, when it's actually attached to a bracer like I have here, it lowers it automatically to the point where I'm not even touching it. Like, I mean, even when I lower my wrist, I have to, like, how much lower do I have to make my wrist actually get that? It's very dumb. Yeah. I'm going to trigger so many Assassin's Creed fanboys.
Well, it's Ubisoft. It's probably already triggered.
Take yours.
Come in here, Ben. Come in here. Right here.
We're ragging out the Assassin's Creed wrist dagger.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very dumb weapon.
Yep.
You love Assassin's Creed, though.
It's not bad.
I've enjoyed, like, Black Flag was great.
I never played Black Flag.
It's the best one.
Hands down.
Okay.
Hands down.
3 and Black Flag.
So I played 1, 2, 3 and Syndicate.
See, I tried the Egyptian one, got bored pretty quickly because of all the grind. And then I tried, of course, you know, Valhalla, and got bored really quickly because of the grind.
Well, if you don't like the grind, you can just pay for the boosters.
I know, it's like, why pay for a game and play it when you can pay for the game and pay them so you don't have to play it? It's amazing.
Just keep paying them.
I've got to lie
Ubisoft.
down, guys.
Mind-blowing stuff. Friggin' idiots, Ubisoft. Well, they're not idiots, people that's working for them.
It's working.
Have you heard of the live, what's that thing?
Live service.
Live server, they're doing a live service Assassin's Creed, you know?
It's going to be the platform for the next 10 years, guys, just like Destiny. It lasted 5 years. It's like Destiny 2, which is already dead.
Assassin's Creed used to be good ones.
They assassinated their own games.
It's very appropriate. Okay, we can hop out. So there we go. These have been my thoughts on the Assassin's Creed's wrist dagger. And yeah, I don't like it. Tell me what you think in the comments below. You know, are there any redeemable uses that you could get out of this that you could not get out of a regular dagger? And this is the thing, even if you can try and find some possible redeeming features with it, right? I don't think that balances against all its massive problems and all the advantages you get out of just a regular dagger. It's concealable, it's more versatile, it's just as deadly. Looking forward to reading them, and of course, hoping to see you on the next video here on Shadowversity. So until that time, farewell.